Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/malicious compliance. If I can't drink here, neither will my friends. Not sure if this is malicious compliance or just unintended consequences, but I feel like it belongs here. Back in my mid-20s, I used to wait tables at this restaurant in my hometown. The money was good and I got along well with everyone there. Usually after our shift, a few of the servers would sit at the bar and have a few drinks to wind down. You figure, why go to another bar when there's a bar right here? We always tipped well and nothing was ever an issue. Until one day when the owner out of nowhere decided that employees weren't allowed to drink at the bar anymore. Now I completely understand this is a normal rule in other bars and the owner was well within his rights, but I just didn't see where this came from. I asked the manager if we did anything wrong to warrant the rule change. He said the owner was just being AD. He told me he tried to talk him out of it because there was no reason, but the owner just wanted to make his presence known. Okay, he's within his right to. However, what he didn't count on was Thursday nights and my friends. Back then my friends were in a punk band and had practice every Thursday night. I would work every Thursday night and they would meet up with me at my bar and grab a drink with me after my shift. And usually they'd bring their girlfriends, friends, and whoever was hanging around. My friends pretty much made the bars Thursday night as busy as a Friday or a Saturday. And when I tell you we could drink, well, we could drink. And of course everyone tipped generously. So when I told them I wasn't allowed to drink at my bar anymore after my shift, they were as pissed as I was. My buddy Bob was like, wait, so there's no point to go to your bar and then for all of us to go to another bar after you're done so you can join us? We might as well just go to another bar and you can meet up with us after. It was the most logical solution. There was another bar around the corner. So come Thursday around 9 p.m., I'm finishing up my shift as my manager approaches me. He looks at the empty bar and asks, "Hey man, are your friends on their way? They're usually 3 drinks in by now?" I reply, "Oh, actually they're 4 drinks in. They're at the bar around the corner." My manager is dumbfounded. "Wait, what? Why aren't they drinking here?" I calmly tell him, "Well, they want to drink with me, and I'm not allowed to drink here. Now if you excuse me, there's a pint of Cane Head High, my favorite beer, waiting for me around the corner." I walked out and joined my friends for a fun night. Now I must admit I feel bad for the bartender who usually worked Thursday nights. She had no part in the decision and her tips suffered because of our move. But that's on management, not me. After a few weeks, the owner noticed the dip in sales on Thursday nights and said we were allowed to drink at our bar again. However, the damage was done. We found out that not only did the bar around the corner have all the beers we usually drink, they were much cheaper. We also struck up a great friendship with the bartenders. We found our new hangout spot. There was no reason to go back. Oh well. Next story. Mortgage sold to a company that wants to charge me $14.95 to pay my bill online. So I send them a check every week for 1/4 the amount instead. I figured someone here might get a kick out of this. Last year, for like the 6th time since we bought our house, our mortgage was sold to yet another company. I've never been late paying it, have occasionally made extra payments, never had any issues. But this new company wants to charge me a $14.95 convenience fee to take a payment online. This is absolutely stupid. I can make a payment over the phone and pay another fee, or I can mail a check/money order for no fee. Also, I can set up autopay, giving them access to my bank account, but that's a hard no from me. So, I went online and my bank has a neat bill pay service where you can set it to repeat weekly, monthly, etc. Took the monthly payment, rounded it up a bit, then set my bank to cut them a check every week for a bit over 1/4 the amount. Doesn't cost me a dime, I don't even pay postage. I'm sure the money comes out of the account a little earlier than the mortgage company actually gets it, losing me a tiny bit of interest or something, but man, it makes me feel better that, for trying to charge me $15 for what is essentially an automated process for them, they now get to process 4 to 5 checks a month. And, sure, I'm sure they have that whole process down to an art for minimal human interaction, but it's not zero. I really wanted to press my luck and send 1/30th of the payment every day, but I figured my bank might cut me off at that point. Next story. My BF wanted me to do an IQ test to prove how intellectually superior he was. I am woman. When I was 17 at the time, I had a boyfriend who was very pretentious. I personally always found that funny, so I didn't mind. However, he was hell-bent on proving how much more intelligent he was than me. One day, he was bragging about an online IQ test he did and how smart he was. He begged me to do one as well. However, I had just smoked and was high, so I refused. After some more begging, I decided why not? It could be fun. Despite being high, I scored higher on the IQ test. He was so pissed it was hilarious. He never bragged about his IQ test again. Another time, he really wanted to show off by playing chess against me. I'm really bad at the game and told him so. But I knew people who were good and they gave me the advice to never have a pawn that was not protected by another. So I did just that. Halfway through, I had captured most of his pawn and he raged quit. At chess. He flipped the board and broke some of his pieces. Needless to say, a week or two after, we were no longer together. I made him too insecure and he went back to his ex, who he called extremely stupid. At least he gave me a lot of laughing materials for years to come. Next story. My boss demanded I serve all customers and fill all shelves no matter how far past closing hours it was. So my first job I ever worked at for a few years was a grocery retail store, with several different departments, including a deli for lunch meat and cheese, which is where I worked. One night I was working 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is when the deli and other special departments closed and were expected to be done and clocked out, but the rest of the store remained open 24/7 for general groceries. It was me and one other guy. We had an especially busy night. And we were a little behind on our cleaning as a result, but we had our meat slicing machines already coated with sanitizer after working for 15 minutes to get all the little meat chunks and shavings out of every corner. As we were pretty serious about making sure those things were clean as can be. It's about 8:55 at this point, we're almost late to leave, and the store we worked for did not like overtime. If you were getting any amount of overtime, you would get chewed out the next day for it, even for a little amount. A woman walks up to the counter and starts looking through the product. As we had a glass case filled with a bunch of types of our lunch meats pre-sliced and ready to go for bagging up. She looks at one and says, "I want this turkey right here, but I want it freshly sliced." I of course look to my coworker and we both can see the 2 slicers we have are still covered in the sanitizer we use and are drying. As per the food safety protocol written on the bottle that says to allow 20 to 30 minutes minimum for the sanitizer to dry after application. I tell her, "Well ma'am, we really can't do that right now. Our slicers are both being cleaned at the moment as the department is closed in 5 minutes, but I'd be glad to get you something here from our cold case." "So you're not gonna slice it fresh for me, that's what you're saying?" I replied, "That's correct, I apologize." Without another word she walks away and myself and my coworker go back to what we were doing, and we finish cleaning and go home after about 5 more minutes, narrowly clocking out on time. Fast forward 2 days later, me and the same coworker come in and start getting to work like a normal day. About 3 p.m., 2 hours into my shift, I personally get called into the head honcho's office. The store director, as they're titled. I think nothing of it and head on upstairs and go inside the office and sit down. The store director hands me a piece of paper and says, "Tell me what caused this." I look at the paper and it's a printed out screenshot of a Google review for our store, 1 star out of 5, and a full paragraph from that lady of 2 nights before complaining that she didn't get her freshly sliced meat from the rude employee, and then described specifically me. I explained exactly what happened 2 nights prior, as clearly as I'm typing it out here. The director is getting heated and begins to cut me off while I'm speaking, asking why would slicers be covered in sanitizer at 8:55? "You're scheduled to work until 9 p.m. I said yes I am, but seeing as I'm constantly being reminded not to get any overtime, so I usually start cleaning them around 8:30 p.m. The director gets even more upset and raises her voice, "I don't care, that's not how it works. If you have a customer, you serve them. And you'd better start making sure those shelves are filled before you leave, or you won't be working here anymore, now get out." I'm pretty salty at this point. I go back down to the department and my coworker asked what happened, and I told him. He says, "So they want everything done before we leave?" I said yep. And without another word he knew what we needed to do. 9 p.m. hits as usual and our shelves are at the usual standard of half full, but seeing as we've been given a new standard, we decided to stay and make sure we did what I was instructed to do. We spent next several hours past closing time slicing and slicing until every single tray of meat and cheese was full. We had plastic totes in the big fridge full of cheese that we sliced that were wrapped up in half-pound blocks for ease of sale, so we decided to fill that tub over the brim with every single type of cheese we had available. We cut up around 70 pounds of cheese and wrapped it up in the fridge. We also had a Subway-style sandwich counter, where we made sandwiches to order and also pre-made on the shelves for sale. We made double the usual amount of sandwiches and filled the shelves, as per requested. Not a single shelf had a single empty spot on it by the time we were done. After every single possible item and shelf was as full as it could be, we finally started to clean and close. It was around 3 a.m. when we finally left. The department opens at 5 a.m. We were exhausted, but our spiteful overtime venture made us feel pretty good. We got about 6 hours overtime in. They hated anyone getting even 5 to 10 minutes of overtime. We both came in the next day at 1 p.m. as usual, expecting complete retaliation. But nope, instead, our department manager of the deli kinda saunters over to us and says, "Hey, you should be good to start cleaning up at 8:30 like usual." I think she, the director, got the point you made. Normally overtime would be asked to be taken care of by clocking out for lunches or coming in later than usual, but they let us keep all 6 hours of that overtime. They never said anything to us about overtime again after that. I accepted a job that paid almost double about 6 months after this incident, and never ever went back to retail hell. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.